friends, it's Carly and I am back today with another review. Today we are looking at the final figure in our Abomination BAF series, and that is our Marvel Legends Gamerverse Iron Man. So with this figure, I've got a lot to say and I'm going to try to divide it into two sections to keep things really moving along. The first will be the things that I like about this figure. Then we'll go into some of the finer points. So actually 3 sections. Things that I like, the finer points of articulation and design and paintwork, and finally the things that I think need work. So let's start off with the things that I like, because that's always the best way to be. So let's take a close look at the design of this suit, which I really like. So I have not played this game. I think it's called Marvel Heroes. Somebody let me know. I haven't played it. I'd be down to. I like video games. But what I like about this suit, the highlights for me are the abdominal plates here, which have just a really cool exoskeleton look. It's like really like looking at his spinal column, and that carries through to the back. And I just think that's really awesome looking. I feel like the way that the plates on this suit are etched and placed really sort of like echo the musculature of the human body. You can even see it here on the thighs. You can see it in his forearms. I just feel like there's a really cool, like, anatomical element to this suit. And I like the way that that looks. I think it looks awesome. We've seen all kinds of Iron Man suits over years and years, decades of comics, cartoons, toys, figures, the MCU. So it's fun to see the new ways that they sort of bring this character to life again. And the elements of sort of anatomy that I see in this particular design, I really appreciate and like. For me personally, you know, it's always important to me when they get the face right. So I like this face a lot. It reminds me of the comic books. And it's always really important to me. For some reason, I don't know why this is, but I always like the suit to be more red than gold. I like the gold to be more detail, and I know that usually that's how it is, but sometimes it feels like in video games, like, and in the MCU even, it got a little bit blingy for me. And just for me personally, as a personal taste, I really just prefer to see it mostly red. So that's something that I really like about this suit too, is that the gold is really carried through as a detail, and it does remind us that this is like a mech suit, so it gives us that sort of mechanical feel, but it isn't overwhelming the design of the figure. So I really appreciate that. That's a personal preference, but I'm happy to see that on this one. So now we're going to go through on the points of articulation from top to bottom with this particular figure. Starting at the head, he is a little bit stiff in the neck. And again, you know, that's something that varies from figure to figure, I think. But he does have a full range of motion, looking up, looking down, and turning easily right to left, actually all the way around. So the head and neck are great. I feel like we have had a couple figures recently where I felt like the neck was sized inappropriately with the head, either too big or too small, too long or too short. So I feel like this one is good. This one makes sense. It is proportionate. And I really like this sort of silver. Now this is something a little different for me, the silver detail pulled through, but I like it here. I think it looks good. So the head is great. Now the first big problem that we're going to run into with this figure is in the shoulders. So if you'll look at the armor on the shoulders, it's a shell, like a turtle shell kind of, or maybe like something you would see on a skateboarder, like an elbow pad or guard or something like that. It really is kind of like a helmet for his shoulder. And even though it is small, I'm trying to get focused, here we go. even though it's a small piece of armor, it hinders his movement by about 60%. This is what you get as far as lateral arm movement. So that is a really disappointing reality with this figure. This is all that you can do as far as lifting his shoulders up to the side. We're about right here. And when you think about the way that Iron Man sort of repels himself or propels himself up with his different, with his suit, when you put the arms all the way out and use the accessory, it makes sense if you're displaying your figure in a in-air motion, if he's hovering over the ground. So it makes sense in that respect, but only in that respect. So essentially, if you're going to pose your figure on your shelf in any way other than just standing arms at his side, this is all you've got because you can't move his arms out any farther. And that is a tremendous oversight, in my opinion. That really bothered me. The good news is that is the only articulation issue that I see with this figure. We've got everything else working as it should. We only have one click back in the torso, but he has plenty of movement forward, so we can still get that good center of gravity that's important to me when I pose my figures with one leg off the ground. So that's good, and it works for that. There is turning in the thighs, but for my figure, it's very stiff. And I've been playing with him for a couple of days, and I literally just can't get those thighs to turn, which I know is a manufacturing thing. I'm sure that because this is soft plastic, if I work with it a little bit, or maybe even warm it up a little bit, I'll be able to get that movement. But just out of the box, in my hands, for a couple of days working with him, I am not able to get these thighs to turn at all. So that is disappointing, but I do think that it's something I can fix. So I'm not going to count that as something that bothers me because I've had stiff figures before and I think I can work with him. His knees are fine. He doesn't have the boot that turns that I always complain about. But then he also doesn't have ankles that turn. They only go up and down. So having this be the only point of the only point of articulation that will turn the leg outward and not being able to turn that is frustrating because I'm not able to try all of the poses that I like. So I need to work with that and see if I can get it loose and be able to do that, because this is the only way to turn the leg out, and being unable to turn that is really hindering what I'm able to do with the figure. His waist turns fine, and his hands are nothing to speak of. He has two sets of hands. He has a fist set and an open set. So that is the points of articulation top to bottom. Now to talk about the things that really bother me, other than the shoulders, which for me honestly is a big deal. It's really sort of unforgivable to have a figure that loses this much of their range of motion due to a armor design choice. It just doesn't jive with me, especially on an armored character that I want to be able to pose all kinds of ways. I have, I'm a big fan of those type of figures, and especially with my Iron Patriot, which is a huge, bulky, armored figure. And if that's not happening with a figure like that, I definitely feel like with a, sort of mid-grade, like a mid-build body style, medium build body style, normal, 112 figure, it should not be doing that. That shouldn't be happening. So that really bothers me. But the second thing, and this is something that I find with all of the Iron Man figures that I've had, I haven't had many, so, maybe I've just been very unlucky. But the paintwork on this, to me, is not good. So, the first thing that I take issue with is the arc reactor, which this time is set into his chest and has a little bit of a pattern etched into it. It sort of looks like a telephone, like an old analog telephone. So there is a little bit of thoughtful detail put into this one. The previous Iron Man that I have, which you can see on my shelf behind me right here, has literally just a white sticker, which really bothered me. So that's an improvement, but still, it's not much to look at, and it bothers me. I feel like they could do more with that. Even just a clear blue piece of plastic over it to give it some depth, to make it seem like it's luminescent, would make a huge difference. But I don't know why they don't really do very much with that. For a $20 figure, it makes sense if putting all those additional details would make it out of the price range. But Iron Man is so beloved. It's an armored figure. If they really went all out, I wouldn't be upset paying $24.99. So I think that raising the price point to get the figure better for me would make more sense. And it's not just the arc reactor, I'm moving on, but the paintwork, using just a flat red plastic doesn't work for me. This is something that happened with the most recent Vision, where they used a clear pink plastic for his skin and a clear green plastic, and the whole figure suffered for it. It really just ended up looking cheap. What I want to see, and what I don't understand why they don't do, is a nice bright metallic paint job. Why is that not on the table with these? Why are we using this dull flat red plastic with a little bit of scarcely metallic gold paint when we could use something? And I'm going to use a DC figure here because I have it handy, but I recently got the Wonder Woman 84 figure, and the paint on her is gorgeous. Now, this isn't one of my favorite figures. It has problems and issues, but as far as a beautiful bright metallic red paint and a bright metallic gold paint that is vibrant and suits the character, it would be amazing to see this paintwork on this figure. So I don't understand why that isn't happening, because at the end of the day, for me, this red flat plastic without any sort of metallic really elements to it, the gold just doesn't pop. It just ends up looking cheap. And again, it's another Iron Man that I'm not super excited to put on my shelf just because he could have been done so much better. So overall, the main issues I have with this are the lack of articulation in the shoulders, which to me is just unforgivable. And again, another Iron Man figure with a lackluster paint job that it seems to me there's no reason for that to be the case. It seems like they should be able to easily paint the figure in a metallic paint, add a tiny bit of detail and effort to the arc reactor, and that would up the value of this figure for me. If that's what they needed to do to create him that way, I would pay the additional $4 because I love Iron Man, because everybody loves Iron Man. So I would really like to see just the minimal effort to make him great, and that's my opinion on that. So if you guys disagree with me, if you love these Iron Man figures from Marvel Legends, please tell me what you think I'm missing, what you think they do right. I do, like I said, really like the design of this suit. The suit is from a video game, so I appreciate the design work, but then when it comes to tying it all together with paint and just a few of the little details that would make it really come to life, I feel like they miss the mark every single time on this character. So I'm actually thinking about looking at other Iron Man figures from other lines. And with that said, let me know what you guys think about this figure. If you think that I missed something, if you think that this is a great figure, tell me why, tell me what I missed. If you are an Iron Man collector and you know a brand that you think would really be exciting for me, obviously there's Hot Toys, which is a little bit pricier than I'm looking to spend, but like a nice 112 Iron Man to add to my shelf. If you guys know where I could find one, tell me where to go and I will look. I'll pick one up, I'll review it, I'll add it to my collection, because Marvel Legends, as far as Iron Man goes, seems to just always miss the mark for me, and I'm ready for something great to add to my collection. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sad that it wasn't a better review. There are some great things about this figure, but overall I think they're just missing the mark by not giving him a really thorough, well thought out paint job and paying attention to some of the details that make him important, make, you know, Iron Man Iron Man. So that's my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I will be doing a review on the Abomination figure, which we'll be posting tomorrow, Monday, and I'm ready to go over this figure with you guys. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Thank you for your comments, your likes, your dislikes, your recommendations. Everything means so much to me, and I'm going to keep trying to get better, and I will have another video coming up for you tomorrow. Thanks, friends. Bye.